You mind waiting to turn the pledge? You waiting for the pledge? That's the wrong answer.
All you have to say is aye, and then everybody else joins
The
in.
rest of us just say.
You got it. And the flag's right there, you're good.
scatter plot.
He gets it all.
Any other questions on the VR component, the new reality? We'll kind of, Chip, we still have two programs, and I'll try to expedite that because I know it's a long evening for you guys. So, and kiddos, if you all want to cruise out, like it's that piece of it, you guys don't have to.
You don't get extra credit, so you might as well go.
Sit and listen to me keep going. So the other piece, Rachel was in the school system, so it was kind of two-pronged as to what we were doing with our MOU last year that we agreed upon. The first piece was the VR, the new reality. The second piece was the credit recovery. And I really feel like that was a critical component just because of the last 3 years that we've been here with you all. That's what we really focused in on primarily. And we pivoted and we added the VR piece, but we wanted to keep this piece remaining because the last 2 years, not this school year, but the prior 2 years, I really feel like if Rachel and new school staff had not been there to really help coming out of COVID, there would be a lot of kids that did not graduate high school. We recovered a tremendous amount of credits specifically for those seniors, and that's going to be our heaviest focus. And when we go kind of dissect this data, you'll see that, we did a little bit and we touched on those freshmen, but primarily it was really pulling those seniors and across the finish line. So the first few pages there are the letter grade distribution. You guys can kind of go through that, but what I would say over on, towards the end, we can kind of get to the credits recovered. It kind of starts looking like an Excel sheet. Towards the back, you'll see that way we can kind of just jump in and we can work backwards there. So there were 66 students that participated in the credit recovery. 23 freshmen, 21 sophomores, 8 juniors, 14 seniors. And out of those, there were 177 missing credits, right? So 14 of those, we recovered every single credit of those seniors. We recovered 7 out of the 8 of the credits for those juniors. And we didn't really focus too much on those freshmen and sophomore because we have time to get them caught up. We have an additional 2, if not 3 years to get them back up and on board and to get them across the finish line. So then, once you flip through that, you'll see 23 students. We were missing 85 credits in the 9th grade. We completed 13 with those 9th graders. So that's only about 15% of those that we were completing. But again, we weren't really focusing. That's not where our focus was. The 10th grade, we had 21 students participating, 45 missing credits. And out of those 45, we completed 22 credits. Rachel and the students completed that. So that's 49% of the 10th grade that we completed. The juniors, there were 8 students, 12 missing credits in the junior class that participated. 11 credits were completed. So that is a 92% completion rate for those juniors. And then the ones that we really hammered in on are the 14 students that were seniors. And out of those 14 students, we had 35 missing credits for those seniors that would prevent them from walking across the stage. So you have to think about, it's not here. How many seniors, Dave, do you know, Mr. Warble, in the senior class that graduated this year?
84, right?
Right, so 84. So when you take 14 of those 84 away and they don't graduate, that cripples your graduation rate. And that's going to be a huge indicator on the State Department and something that they are going to absolutely hammer all of us on. So out of those 14 students, 35 were missing credits. 35 completed those credits for a 100% completion rate of the seniors. And that's how it's been consistently over the last 3 years. The numbers of those that we have to complete has increased every year. But again, we're catching them and we're playing catch up over the years with that. And again, we're coming out of COVID and that was awful. The kids just struggled with that. So I think our numbers are going to start declining, which is a really good thing because, we've already got that early jump start on those sophomores, those, freshmen, and even into the juniors. So, next year, instead of starting with 35 missing credits, we're starting with 23 missing credits for that senior class, which is much more manageable for us to flip back and hit on, the ninth grade class who are missing 72 credits. So that gives us time to kind of, again, work backwards back to that freshman class to eliminate that. So that's kind of how that has worked out with the credit recovery. So senior class did awesome, junior class did awesome. The numbers are going down. We're starting with less every single year, which is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for us to work ourselves to where, Rachel isn't needed, credit recovery isn't needed. That's the ultimate goal, is to work, new school out of a job with this. So, questions, comments, concerns on the data, the credit recovery? Rachel, you were there all day, every day, 5 days a week, or like, yeah, four days a week, 5 hours a day, doing nothing but credit recovery. The kids would be pulled from flow classes or those electives because we didn't want them to get further behind in their English, math, science, social studies. And again, we didn't even start this until like October 1 is when we got started. We wanted them to get on their feet, see where we're at, play catch up with this, and then those credits are still going to stack on top of what's already behind. So, next year, again, if it's something that we can do, what I would really hope is that we can implement this right off the jump and use those 2 months to tackle those 35 credit or those 23 credits that are missing in that upcoming senior class. To knock those out early. That way we're working, we're not working reactively, we're proactively engaged with those students to prevent them from falling further behind in their senior classes. Any questions?
What does that credit recovery piece look like? So if I'm missing one science credit, what do you do in that amount of time to ensure that I get that credit?
So they're working, you want to kind of, I'll let you're kind of the boots on the ground, because I can answer it, but I would like for Rachel to kind of attack that question.
So if you're missing a credit, you're enrolled in the credit recovery program through the state, and then they're enrolled in PEAK, which is like an online course. So once you're enrolled, I basically take it from there. So all the guidance counselor has to do, Kim Cox, all she has to do is she enrolls them. As soon as they're enrolled, I get their login, all that. I troubleshoot everything. I go through all the instructions, and then they have pretty much a semester, more or less, to get it done. I track their progress. If they're struggling, if they're having technical issues, motivation issues, I just help with that. I meet with them pretty much weekly if I can, and just kind of see how it goes. And usually they respond really well to that constant pressure. They get sick of me eventually, so they end up doing it usually. I would pull them when I could from class, like from advisory occasionally. A lot of them would do it at their home. We found out that they could do it on their phones when they're bored, so they got it done that way. And then once they're done, I get it submitted to be checked, and it gets added to their transcript.
So it's essentially a self-paced, but you're making sure they stay on track.
Right.
Okay.
Because what we find, like, it's an extremely difficult program because they failed the brick and mortar sitting in the classroom type traditional education piece, right? So the health and the PE is extremely difficult. I feel like I would need to be a medical doctor to get through some of the questions that they would ask in the health component of it, those that fail health. And traditionally speaking, there is a motivational piece and breakdown there that, like, we've already established that maybe they're not going to do their work and turn it in even when they have a Summers County teacher, over top of them. Hey, where is this? So when they're turned loose to kind of do it on their own on peak, there was a huge breakdown, and that's coming again kind of out of COVID, because that's the the system that we were using. I don't really like the virtual platform personally. That's just me. I like more of that direct instruction to be able to learn. But that's what we're presented with across the state. So they get on that peak, and then Rachel is that, the one that kind of pulls them at times across the line. So that's a great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the credit recovery? There's a lot of data. I'll give you all my email, my phone number. If you all have any, once you kind of digest, if you, want to digest or, have conversations or whatever, I'd be glad to sit down with you
I'll pass
all
it
or
to you guys.
whomever and kind of go through it more in depth. But I did want you all to be able to kind of see the thing, like they're ready to graduate, these kids, and they're ready to make that transition into, something to be able to give back to the community. So it's, I'm proud of that senior class, and I'm proud of the junior class for kind of beating that senior class last year, right? So again, we're trending the right direction. So
The
absenteeism is something that we have to tackle, like it's, especially with that freshman class.
Is this,
Like,
well,
it's-
I mean, 4 days a week, so is this just for absent in your program, or is this absent from school?
This is pulled from,
All, like, their whole absence, not just from me.
yeah, this is Summers
For
County.
that whole day?
Right.
This is for the 66 students.
Right. So you can see that's, what was it, like 373
Oh,
something?
so this isn't even kids that are.
No, that's
in the
just-
credit recovery.
This is just the
overall.
66 that we had,
Yeah.
Oh, just, yeah.
just us.
See, what's difficult is the attendance is a huge issue that this state's dealing with. Since COVID, people think school's an option now
Right.
and not a standard. And then we also provide summer school, but we can't force people to come to summer school either. So then it becomes, this is our last resort, because if they don't graduate, then they become a statistic that is not going to be good in our society, and we don't want them to fail. So we appreciate New School for dragging some of them across the finish line because they do work with someone like Susie or Raynell Medical to get that extra counseling, if you will, to work with these kids to get them across that line.
But the absences is eye-opening. Like, it blew me
Yeah.
away.
And so out of these kids participating this year, how many percentage wise are repeats from last year?
Like they had been retained.
Mm-hmm.
Very well, a good number of the freshmen were actually sophomores. And I think that was where a lot of, we did have a lot of credits that didn't get, recovered was from that age group. But, from other than that,
There are consistent names across the ninth grade, into 10th grade, into 11th grade. I mean, Rachel has gotten to know some of these kids fairly well, like over the last, 2.5, 3 years that we've done this. So they are, but I mean, you can see 673 total absences amongst 66 kids.
Yeah.
Like that's something that we are going to try to tackle. I don't know how to do it. It is an issue across the state. That's not limited to Summers County, these numbers. I mean, it's going to look like that if we would run these programs and really track a cohort of kids that obviously are struggling, that 10% of kids that are in that credit recovery. It's going to look very, very similar from Summers County to Marion County, to Mon County, to Raleigh County. I mean, it's going to be fairly consistent because that's a population that, like they're struggling, right? And they're struggling for probably that reason right there. When you miss 66 kids, I mean, that's a lot. That's what, 100 days, almost a kid, right? So when we're looking.
Probably safe to say that your program is necessary because that's been a pattern for years.
I
I
agree.
mean, you can't,
I don't want to say that,
you
but.
can't learn if you're not here.
But like that's not for me to say, but I mean, you can see the ones that we're working with. The junior class is great. Like, they're not great. There's 183, right? And I think there was 14 that we were kind of tracking there in that junior class. So whatever 183 math people divided by 14, right? That's still a substantial amount of absences that we have there for those kids. And if we can reduce those absences, we can increase the grades. I mean, there's a direct correlation that we all know. It's not rocket science, right? Between your ABCs, your attendance, your behavior, your curriculum, like they all are tied and intertwined together. So figuring out how to attack that, like I wouldn't have to work again if I had a magic pill for this, right? I could wrap this up and sell it across the state, across the country, but it's an issue. And that's something that we need to collectively work together on, and I don't have an answer for that right now. So, but bringing awareness, I think we all know it's an issue, but this is eye-opening. That ninth grade class collectively, how many ninth graders did we flip back?
It's 23, so what's it?
23, yeah, so 673 divided by 23. That's how many that cohort missed.
Over 30 days is good.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see like this data compared to last year's data.
Yeah, I can email that over to you.
We can get that.
New school's been working with Summers County for,
I think like 2.5 years. I think we came through halfway through. And
it would be good to see like that
Yeah.
traditional data.
right, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%, I agree. And I
That's
can
that's
send
your
that.
homework assignment.
That's right. I can send that. I mean, we have it all. I can send it over to you, tomorrow. I can have it. Yeah,
I'll tell you,
absolutely.
if you email me that,
You
then
can
what I'll
distribute
do is I'll forward you, so you'll have his email, and then scan this, then you'll have everything. do that.
Absolutely. So, attendance, not great. Grades are going the right direction. GPA is going the right direction. Everything's kind of trending, the right way. There was a lot more credits that were recovered last year because there was a lot more that needed recovered, which is a good thing. Our numbers are going down, and ultimately that's what I want to see, is that I have less to present to you. I'll be like, oh, guys, we only recovered, 52 credits this year. Well, that's because we only needed 80, right? So it's working. So, any other?
One last question. So
Absolutely.
how many staff members did you have working with Summers County, and how many days a week were they here?
3. So each program is a little different. So these are the 3 ladies that were here, working Summers County. And Rachel was in the school 4 days a week, 5 hours a day. Summer came in, you were here.
I started in February.
Right,
and
every
I
day.
every single day.
Every day. And then Sherry, you were like,
I'm
it was so weird. It's just like, half day at like
You.
Talkit, half day at Jumping Branch, half day at, so she was everywhere. So 3 that are pretty much, that's solely what we have them doing. Then the final piece of it is the extended school mental health. So this is a separate component. We work collaboratively with all the schools to do that mental health piece. Now, that's not really my wheelhouse. I'm more education minded. Cindy, my wife, of course, she is a licensed independent clinical social worker. Summer is
I have my LGSW.
licensed graduate social worker. So they really tag team this and have worked. And I mean, it is a super, super detailed program that is, I mean, it's at least like, I'm like, So,
Well, we
they-
wrote the grant. It's very detailed, and
It
getting
is.
this grant really helped our county out. And,
Yeah.
Summer has the right name too. When she came in, I'm like, I can remember that name.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So we're,
always got a smile on her face.
yeah, so we're kind of in a nutshell, and then I'll turn it over to Summer. But, New School is providing tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 services to students in Summers County. We collaborate with Raynell Medical Center to do what, tier 3?
3.
Right?
Yes.
Tier 3, we collaborate with them. We're providing therapy to kids, and it is super, super detailed as to, what they're doing, data, monitoring, the school, what are the school plans? What are they called?
The action planning, we have already done our needs assessment. so
Needs
the next-
assessment. So they met with each school and really dissected individually what each school within Summers County is going to need, because Talcott is going to look different than Jumping Branch, which is going to look different than the comprehensive school, which is going to look different than Hinton area. So whatever their needs are, they went through that needs assessment, really dissected. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we see. Here's what we want to have happen. and then we make that come to fruition, basically. So I'll let kind of Summer, talk about that. That's, you know, more of the mental health profession. But they are doing a lot of pretty neat things within the schools. So I'll give that to you.
Thank you.
And I'm here.
My name is Summer. Nice to meet you guys. So what I do is I'm the ESMH coordinator. So the West Virginia ESMH is an incentive. It exists so that every student in West Virginia can benefit from a school environment that supports the social and emotional well-being of the students so they can achieve their full potential. The thing that I like about this program is that it works with the school, the families, as well as the community. So like the different partnerships and with that. The grant was obtained in February, and we have completed our needs assessments, which were there just said for each school in Summers County. So what that does, with the needs assessment, we're able to identify the goals for each school and obtain information as to what is already in place in the schools and how we can help build on those. We look to add, based off of those needs assessments, we'll be looking to add evidence-based programs that our implementation date is hopefully October 2024. And we'll be selecting with the leadership meetings, they'll help us to decide which program will help benefit that school.
We give them some ideas as to some of the evidence-based programs. I know that you all have some in mind, but just so you all can kind of wrap your head around what that even looks like or what that means. Like, what are some of those programs that you?
One is the ripple effect, where it has like, the school says we're having issues with bullying, we're having issues with anxiety, we're having issues with these kids not coming to school, different things like that. The ripple effect, it has it listed where, okay, we want to discuss this one. And you work with those kids, the school as a whole. There's also the on life skills. It works on like substance abuse, different life skills, social media, different things like that. So what we do is, again, we get the data, we talk to the principal, we talk to the community and schools representatives and say, okay, what do you feel like is your biggest issue in the school right now? If it is bullying, if it's like we have these set of kids who are not able to come into the school, what evidence-based programs do you have that can help that? And we have a list and we go over that with the school. So like I said, that's what we get from the needs assessment.
Like the Catch My Breath is
The
one.
Catch My Breath is for
like
is for
vaping
substance
and
abuse.
substance abuse and, you know, things that schools are struggling with. So,
And I got trained in the Catch My Breath program. Sherry works with me with that as well. So she'll get trained either on that one or another one that if you guys are like, hey, we saw information on this one, can you get someone trained on that? This summer, we've been working with Reach. We partnered up with Reach to help them assist in their summer fun program. Because again, a part of this grant is working with the community, getting the kids to know us, to getting the kids comfortable, you know, coming to school. We partnered up with the Summer Reach program or with the Summer Fun program. We've helped provide 1 day a week meals for them, helping with their summer feeding program, you know, different things like that. And as we say that we did the needs assessments, now we do the action planning stage, and we're working with Marshall University in order to obtain, again, what is going to be the best fit. The action planning, we take the goals, we break it down. How can we meet that goal for you? Like one of the schools, they want a therapy dog. They can't promise a therapy dog, but again, what can this grant do? Summer, can you help research to see how they can get a therapy dog for this school? One of the schools, one of their needs that they wanted, they're having issues with kids in the morning, having anxiety getting into the school, coming in not the best, not feeling the best. So is there a program or something like that where either me or Sherry or somebody can volunteer to help those kids work through those problems?
yeah, because like we all know, there's a lot of precipitating factors that take place between, you know, when they get on the school bus to go home until they get on the school bus to come back to school. There are a lot of potentially bad things that occur in our kids' lives. So being there and trying to eliminate, you know, those stressors, you know, or the anxiety for them stepping back into the building, like those are some of the things that we're trying to attack on that.
Oh, you're fine, brother. Any questions?
What does tier 2 necessarily look like? So we've
Oh,
kind
so
of gone into, you know, what tier 1 is. Let's
Tier
talk
two-
about tier
Tier
2.
2 is early intervention, to where if there are students with identified needs. So let's say you have a group of kids they're bullying each other. It's a conflict resolution type group. So those kids are identified through referrals, through behavioral referrals, different things like that, or even vaping. So they can, with their parent permission, like, okay, let's try not, we don't want these kids suspended. We want these kids to be active in school. What can we do to help them to work through their conflict? So that's where we come in and we start a small group for those kids, help them work through that conflict. Tier 3 consists of therapy, to where if, let's say again, one of the things that I've done this, throughout the school year is if there's an issue with the kid going on, they come talk to me. I'm a safe place. You know, they can like, okay, Miss Summer, I'm having a bad day. My dog died today. And I'm a dog lover. I have 4. So that's a big thing for me. So if this kid is like, I can't make it through the day, I'm having some other issues at home. What I do is I talk to their parents, do a referral. Is it okay if I do a referral for them to get ongoing therapy? And the parents like, well, I don't have access to other resources, or I don't have access to get them back and forth to therapy. The therapist comes to the school for them. And again, it's all through that's through Raynell Medical. And one of the things for Tier 3 that me and Ms. Sherry do is CANS assessments. What we'll do is, again, identify other needs and help them, place them with resources that they can use and they can utilize to help the family.
And the CANS assessment is super detailed. It is extremely detailed, and it's basically writing like a family plan also as to, you know, what the needs are. And it evaluates the whole home life. And you can probably speak better because like I know very, very little, like enough to be dangerous. So don't like, but to me, it looks like almost like a story of the kid and, you know, what the issues are, you know, who's in the house, what is the mom doing, what is the dad doing, what's the drug use, the brother, the sister, you know, so it is a detailed assessment and family plan, and they just call it like a West Virginia CANS. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it is extremely detail oriented.
And it gives you a plan as like how to help this family. And again, one of the best things that I love about this program is we work with the community. So it's not just inside the school system. We're with REACH, we're with FMRS, we're with Raynell Medical, communities and schools, everybody working together to help the students.
In those types of situations, what would you say is, I mean, what's the parent involvement like? Or I should say family involvement, because it might not even be parent.
Well, and that's one of the things that we have identified in the needs assessments is getting parents involved. There's a stigma when it comes to mental health. There's a stigma when it comes to therapy. There's a stigma when you say, hey, we identified this need for your kid. A lot of parents kind of get like taken back, like there's something wrong with my kid. No, there's nothing wrong with your kid. We want to help your kid. We want to help your kid to be successful. So again, part of the needs assessment is getting family engagement, going to like softball games, football games, or whatever games. And so putting a face to the therapist, putting a face to the person assisting your kid, so that way they can kind of be like, okay, I can come to you. Like you said, I'm always smiling. I can't help it. So, you know, seeing me like, okay, you're the one helping my kids. Okay, I might feel a little more comfortable with that. So getting that family involvement.
Yep. And so with these programs, it can lead to other programs that we do kind of outside of, you know, our MOUs and things that we do specifically for. So we're a CSED provider also. So that's a Children with Serious Emotional Waiver program, kind of like IDD waiver, but for the emotional component. So we have probably 24 therapists that work with us right now. And what they would do is they would apply for this program. It's a very simple one-page application that we take that, and then we do in-home family support. We do in-home family therapy. The therapist actually goes to the home because there is a breakdown. Transportation may be a barrier. You know, the parent not wanting, you know, to take them for whatever reason. So we actually go to the home. Our therapists do our in-home family support. They go to the home to implement the therapy plan that the therapist creates with the family. So they're getting lots of additional support to try to help, because not everyone has that natural support system. Let's be honest, like we get it, right? So trying to bridge that gap is a problem. Like it always has been. It's going to continuously be a problem, but we're just trying to kind of bandage that the best that we can and bridge that gap that we have, that we see between the, you know, the school, you know, and the home life. Because we only have them for what, 8 hours in a school day, 6, 7, 8 hours, right? Then they're over there the remainder of the day. potentially seeing a lot of bad things. So, you know, if we can wedge ourselves in the home just for a little bit more, it's great.
So how much, within Summers County Schools, how much engagement are you getting with the students and families?
Well, as of right now, because again, when we just started in February, just doing the needs assessments, some of the things that I've introduced myself to the teachers, the principals, they've sent a few kids to me saying like, okay, again, this kid's had an issue in class. I had one kid who severe anxiety. He would come in, we work on he already told me his coping skills, and again, just a safe place, you know, for that kid. I would do, and I call that like crisis services, for that time period.
So we're all kind of like in the, you know, getting it up, getting it started, because each school looks a little different, trying to coordinate with, you know, administrator schedule, Marshall University schedule. So that is was a little bit difficult at first. Now that we're through that needs assessment and we're able to dissect that data, now we're able to formulate the plans. Then I think at the beginning of next year, we'll hit the ground running and the floodgates will open with referrals with kids. So I think that will be a question, I think maybe that we can really dive into, maybe mid-semester board meeting, that we can come and do kind of like like here's how it's going, you know, December, January board meeting, if that's okay. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Well, guys, again, we thank you all for trusting New School to come in and to work with your students. It's a great community. We love being here. We love the schools, love the administrators. So thank you all for trusting us for the last several years to really impact and try to make a difference. And again, just supplement what you all are already doing.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Guys, you got that
Yeah,
right.
I got a baseball all-star.
Okay.
I was disappointed Hinton didn't host it this year. Y'all were supposed to down there.
You just want to go to Dairy Queen.
I do. And look at the water. Down the dam. So, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Hold on. Oh, good.
I will do that.
All right, back to item 4.
Here's
We
some
have
right here.
public comment.
They were ready for you.
Oh,
First
yeah.
one we have is Miss Elisa Thompson.
Hello, I'm back. Start the clock. I know I have 5 minutes. I just wanted to continue the last meeting with the COVID benefits. We had 12.9 come in, 21 we spent 1.1, 22 we spent 3.3, 23 we spent 3.9. Year-to-date 2024 we spent 2.5. So our total expenses were 10.9 million. That left a balance of 1.9 million. And I just wondered if we have some accountability as to what we're going to do with those remaining funds. And if we have some type of line item that states exactly where the 10.9 million was allocated. Y'all can maybe supply us with that. And that's moving into I think we're over budget from what I understand, maybe or not, but maybe you can clarify that. But I think we are substantially over budget in Summers County right now. So I didn't know what remedies we're putting into effect to take care of the over budget, if we're pulling from COVID funds, or if we've prioritized the 1.9 as to what exactly we're going to do with the 1.9 million. I know Hinton area needs help. There's a lot of places that need help. There's teacher salaries, et cetera. But have you all had a discussion specifically with that 1.9 million, how it will be allocated for the remainder of what we have? And that leaves me with probably 1 minute. The levy, we did not pass the levy. We should have started the following day on how can we pass the levy. All of this stuff, everything on the agenda that we're talking about, pickleball and all these great things, they're not going to happen if we don't pass the levy. If we don't pass the levy, we don't get new families in here. If we don't get new families in here, our county dries up. If our county dries up, our kids are going to be, bused to other counties. The only way to make a difference is to pass the levy. So I'm hoping that in my 5 minutes, I can make an impact on all of you and Mr. Warble. Something needs to be done to pass the levy. Something needs to be done. That's my 5 minutes.
You've got
Thank
it
you.
down?
You still have three.
Oh my gosh, don't talk this loud. I'll talk a whole lot longer. No. I just hope that we can get moving on the levy and we can account for these funds and we can make a difference starting today for our entire county. Because you guys are the heartbeat of the county. If our schools don't survive, our counties don't survive. We don't have new families. We don't have people shopping. We don't have people having businesses because we have no families. It's easy for retirees to move here, but they're not gonna sustain our county. New schools, children are gonna sustain our county.
As you know, we can't have dialogue right now, but I'll be glad to talk to you about some of the things that you mentioned when we're finished.
Thank you, Kenny.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay,
Me too.
thank you so much. Let's try and move forward. All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Also under presentations, we have Miss Tara Skaggs. I know we're going to talk about your MOU when we get to that agenda item. If you have anything you want to talk about now regarding the MOU, and then we may have some questions when we get to that agenda item as well. And I'll tell you the same. You get 5 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. I don't really have a formal presentation, and I just wanted to discuss the MOU, and I feel like new school segued into, the MOU and what we do, and them talking about tier 3 services. We've been in the county providing behavioral health services now for 7 years, and we provide those services to all of your schools. Hinton area elementary, we are receiving so many referrals that we can't keep up. We are in the process, actually, we just made an offer to another therapist for this county. So I don't know if we've done a good job coming to you, telling you what we're doing, how we're trying to help with your schools and your students and getting them in the classroom. But a lot of what we do is exactly the same support that new school they're doing. And we're intertwined and we're working together in this absenteeism. You know, when these kids go home, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what happened before they come to school. And having a place, some of these kids just need one caring adult. Some kids need 2 caring adults, and we can be that caring adult. So if they constantly, they need to come over every day, they need to come over. There's something going on with them, and eventually they trust us, and that we break that down, get to what they need, and we can keep them in the classroom. Their mental health or physical health, we're meeting all of those needs. So all of these things, their education, their behavioral health, their mental health, their extra help with tutoring, like it's all combined. And that's what we're here to do when we get a little more into the MOU. But we're at a crossroads that our medical provider, Stephanie, is out of contract. We have an open position at Reno Medical Center, and we have to make a decision. She's going to be out of a job. So do we move her there, give her a contract for that location, or do we hold on? Regardless, we have to pull our trailers out in September. They can't stay here. They're on the temporary foundation. They're construction trailers. They were not meant to stay forever. It's temporary. We had grant funding. Because of the whole, we let that grant funding go. It doesn't mean that we can't apply for another grant or things that we can do. But if you want us here, we have to have space to work. If we go into the school, we can continue these services. If we're not going into the school, then we'll move our services somewhere else. But that doesn't help the school. And these kids need us here. The teachers need us here. You need us here. It's going to help your attendance. It's going to help your graduation grades. It's going to help. It's going to help what you need in the county. It's going to help the bringing people in to survival. So that's all I have to say. I can even say about you that you get into it.
Okay. Thank you.
I did want to mention that we are required by HRSA to do a patient experience survey. And there's questions. It's questions that the patients answer. It's based on how many patients we see. For Summers County, we're fairly new. We only had 27 patients that had developed a survey, but most of their responses were excellent. And the availability to get an appointment, the need of them needing an appointment, being able to access us on the phone, our hours of operation, protecting their confidentiality, their success with the provider. So we pretty much had excellent across the board, a few goods. So we're doing great things here, and we're glad to partner with you and thankful that you're having us here to help the people of your county, your students.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, item 6, we have approval of minutes. We have before us the June 11th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as read.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the June 11th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as read. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Aye. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote with myself abstaining that the minutes from June 11th, 2024 regular meeting have been approved. Item 7, approval of bills.
Make a motion that they approve the bills.
I'll second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that we approve the bills. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that the bills have been approved for payment. Item 8, approve transfers and supplements. Old business, discussion or possible action regarding the Jumping Branch Tabernacle parking lot agreement.
You should have a copy. It's front and back. It's basically a one pager, but this is what, Josh Cottle from Bold Rice, the board attorney, was trying to work with the attorney from the church and trying to come up with a win-win for both parties, if you will.
I talked to Jeff Chambers and showed him this, and he was supposed to gotten back to me, but I'm pretty sure we, as far as I'm concerned, could move forward with it.
Well, if you approve it and give it to them and they say no, then you go back and rework it, or if they say yes, either way.
I'll make a motion that we approve the license agreement with Jumping Branch Tabernacle.
I'll second. We have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by myself to approve the license agreement between Jumping Branch Tabernacle. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote, the license agreement between Jumping Branch Tabernacle and Summers County Schools has been approved. Item B, discussion or possible action to approve the probation officer MOU.
You have a second for Ted to go over this with you, since he runs the attendance office.
I'll let Sandra talk a little bit about the financial piece. Full year 22, October of 21, and when this all kind of started, and that school year. My first week on the job, we had, I don't know how many students, but we had students that were 26, 27, 28 days. But don't excuse that, that year was pretty rough. We spent the most part of the first semester trying to find kids. And of course, this was just after COVID. The COVID was still prevalent. We had kids that went to homeschool, we didn't know. We had kids transferred. We weren't told. We had kids that just decided they didn't want to come to school. Somehow we salvaged the year, myself, the probation officer. We ended up with an attendance rate of 85.5%, which is not good. That's pretty good. The following year, school year 23, we improved that to 88.3%. Still not the greatest, but we climbed. This past year, school year 24, we increased to 89.42%. Prior to COVID, between the high school and the middle school, it would hover in between like 90, 92%. I think I look back into like 2014, 2015, I was like, oh, not like we're at 93%. But COVID has really hurt our numbers as far as attendance in new school. Really hammered home the whole fact that attendance is bad. So we're improving. And we're improving as a result of all these interventions, as well as school-based probation officer. In many ways, our school-based probation officer is the frontline. This past year, we had our school-based probation officer in one form or another reached out to 519 students. Guys, we have 635 students in our comprehensive. That's through 5-day letters, 10-day letters, calls home to talk to parents, asking for excuses, wanting to know why their child's not in school. It also involves one-on-one conversations. And during these one-on-one conversations, they're finding out why our students are not in school. So we can refer students to community school. We can refer students to Reno Medical Center. We have the privilege of having a school-based probation officer that has a CPS background. So she's, seeing these, cues to perhaps make referrals. Across the state, there's, I think, approximately 24 school-based probation officers amongst the state, and they do a variety of things. One thing that our school-based probation officer does is truancy diversion. And with truancy diversion, we're identifying students that are truant, and we're meeting with them, we're meeting with their parents, and this is primarily, I say we, but it's primarily our school-based probation officer. And they're forming contracts. They're basically signing a contract and they're taking drug tests. I mean, it's pretty hardcore. We want you back in school, and the whole idea is to keep them out of courts. So if we're diverting their truancy charge, then we're keeping them out of the courts. And ultimately, we're working with the parents to keep them in school or to get them back in school. I can't imagine not having school-based probation. In fact, this coming year, with the dwindle down of the instruction, I plan on doing a diversion myself, being a diversion specialist in our elementary schools, which we've never had. So to try to increase and try to make attendance awareness in our elementary schools. So having the comprehensive 5 through 12, actually she's licensed to work with grades 5 through 12. That will allow me to get into the elementary schools and start working with some of these families. One thing I just want to note, and then I'll let Cassandra speak. This position goes away. It doesn't get absorbed by the courthouse. This position ends if the MOU doesn't pass. So I just want that to be brought out. Have any questions for me as far as her position, what she does, the value of the position?
Is she the one that monitors the kids that get expelled, or when we have the expulsion hearings? Is she the one that monitors?
No, that would be, no, she doesn't work with those students. That would be probably Amy Hunt and a couple of the probation team at that.
I think Amy does some of that.
Yeah, I think Amy does a lot of that.
Okay.
Josie's is mainly in our school. I know it's kind of counterproductive to what you just asked, but she doesn't deal with that segment of students.
So by having the PRO, how does that benefit you and your job? And what does your job look like, your day-to-day look like when you don't have the PRO?
So we have, and I'll bring in Susie Hudson too. I'll put her on the spot, but I mentioned community schools, but I'll come back to that. Let me answer your question. We have attendance team meetings quite often. And our attendance team is comprised of myself, Ms. Hudson, Dr. Green, Candace Berkshire, and Stephanie Cochran. we meet, we started out meeting monthly, and then we met bi-weekly, and then towards the end of the year, we're meeting weekly to talk specifically about the students that are truant. So by having this team meeting, we're able to identify the students and then just basically streamline our duties on communicating with them. And then ultimately getting them into Josie's office and finding out what the problems are. If personally, if we didn't have that mechanism, I just wouldn't be able to keep up with it. The assistant principals wouldn't be able to keep up with it. And it would be counterproductive to Senate Bill 393, which basically, I think it was Governor Tomlin who implemented this program to keep things out of court. So now we're flooding the court system. So, and also, like I alluded to earlier, this is going to allow me to get into the elementary schools and start some of these same programs that we're doing at the high school. So it's some of the same ideas. I know that Josie, that's our school-based probation officer, and Ms. Hudson, they meet daily almost. And their communication between community schools and truant students, and how do we help these students? How do we get them back in school? We don't want to apply too much pressure just yet. Let's send them over here to Susie and let's see what we can do instead of just let the courts decide, because that's just not what we want to do. You want to.
And I'll say when that happens, because we work together pretty closely. And I do monitor attendance, but my first focus, as you know, would be my caseload for communities and schools. But I also work with those that are excessively truant. I call them, but when I call them, I let Josie know, because Josie, we don't need two people doing that. So I send a list of, this is who I've contacted today, these are the reasons right here. If this one's ready to be put into the last state out, yeah. I'll call and say, what can we do? Because this is what's going to take place, ABC, this is what's happening. We don't want that. We don't want that. And I said, well, then what can we do? So what I do at that point is I ask, would you give me a chance? Give me a chance to work with them so we can keep them out of the legal system. And that's been pretty successful. Because I give them a number, I give them my cell phone number, I check that student and see if they're there on a daily basis. If they're not, and there's a reason, that parent sends me a text message, I in turn send it to Josie. So we're keeping track of them like that. So I know what's going on. And when I tell you that I am going to take care of this student, I'm going to take care of that student. I call them, I text them, I said, I'll come get you. If you're not here, I'm coming to get you. So they really don't like it when you bug them. We really do love them. We do, but we just have a strange way to show them. And they always say, I'm coming to get you. You better be on that bus. If you're on that bus, you better be here. Not only that, but we employ like their peers to sort of push them along to get into school. But the bottom line there is we do work together. Josie and I probably are unsaid, work the most with the team. Just saying.
Well, but they're there every day. They use me as the heavy hand at times. But like I said, that will allow me to get into the elementary schools and work with the other community school representatives a little closer to help combat this attendance issue. I mean, across the county, we're at 36% chronic gaps. Tremendous number. So doing away with anything that's going to help with attendance, in my opinion, we are a CSI school. So as a part of that identification was for attendance. So.
Looking at the school-based probation officers, there's 24 positions for 24 counties.
Right.
Monongalia has 2. Of course, obviously they're a large county, but Pleasance and Ritchie share 1. We share a judge with Monroe County. Has this been considered? Anything like this considered?
Oh, let me. Fayette County has 1, Raleigh County has Monroe County has. The lady in Monroe County, just to talk quite often, there's not enough time. There's no way that that one person can do both counties. The workload is too much. That has not been looked at because, quite frankly, I don't think it's, I really don't think it's,
All I was gonna say on that is I spoke to Jennifer Monk, the treasurer of Pleasant County, because she was one of the names the State Department did give to me to reach out. And Jennifer, their treasurer, said that they are bringing that position, so they're actually gonna be having all the time one starting next year. So they didn't think it would work. And she actually spoke herself as a treasurer, how beneficial that role was, and kind of told me that if there was any way we could keep it, to keep it. So from what I understand, which I don't know a ton about this, but from what I understand, Pleasant is going to have a full-time one next year.
questions.
So currently, the position is funded half with grants, right? Sorry.
Yes.
And half with county funds.
Yes.
Is it 50/50 split?
It's a 50/50 split, give or take a little bit. We have to estimate the salary at the beginning of the year. So I mean, give or take a couple $100. So for this year, the salary is estimated at 67,370, and so we haven't got that grant yet, so this year it'll be exactly 50/50. I didn't know I was supposed to send a letter in saying how much we're going to spend, so that'll be paid out in the next couple of weeks. But next year we'll get it upfront for our estimated cost, so it'll be,
What about benefit?
that's included in that 67. So the 67 is, that's the total cost for everything. It's benefits, travel, they give her a little bit for a cell phone. It's whatever's in her contract with the Court of Appeals, we pay that to them. Is it possible to use CSI funds to pay for the other 50%? That would be.
Not really, because there's a strategic plan we have to fill out at the beginning. And then you have to say how you want to spend this money, then the state has to agree to that. So it's not feasible at this point in time, but in January, we are finding out that we could possibly get some grant funding to maybe pay more of the county portion to offset the cost. So if we can do that, that might work too. So we are looking at grants to subsidize the county portion. I'm not saying it's gonna happen because you gotta get the grant, so all these grants are competitive grants, but that is a possibility.
If we could ask the state about the CSI funds, all of that has to be approved by the state though, because those are state. So that is something you could ask about it. If they approve it. Yeah, but they have to be for extremely well reasons. So, I mean, it's,
And it's rated, so.
yes, it just depends on what is in their security plan and if they're going to fit it in there. But that is something that we would be more than willing to ask about. However, the MOU, so if we don't approve this, that job won't exist next week. So we're kind of up against the deadline. Like, once that job goes away, the state doesn't keep those jobs if they don't have somewhere to put them. So once that job goes away and this person is unemployed, we were told by the State Department that it is very, very unlikely that there will ever be somebody else to come back in to fill that, because there are several counties that have wanted this for a while, and there's nobody to fill those jobs. So, I mean, that was my only hesitation, is we were warned that, hey, there's been several counties that want this and can't find anybody to fill the job, and that's why they don't have them, not because they don't want them. So I'm not sure how that would look long term. That was just something that the State Department said, well,
Is there a reason why the MOU is for 2 years?
because the grant is based on a 2-year. The grant is awarded on a 2-year basis, and the MOU follows the grant.
The grant from the state.
Yes.
It's kind of like that CSI grant we get. That's only for 4 to 5 years. Most grants are either 2, 3, or 5-year programs. And usually you get the most amount at the beginning, the first 2 years, then they wean you off of it because it's called supplanting. But in this case, with what Chad referenced with Mr. Tomlin when he was governor, this is different because it's in state code, and that's just the difference.
And, one of the questions you asked, if we were to share it with somebody, we would only get half of our cost. So like, it still wouldn't be paid for. We would just be paying half of half,
Right.
which would be less, but it would still be a cost. So it wouldn't eliminate. We only get the grant for half of whatever we pay, regardless of if it's a half-time or,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to get.
As you heard from the lady here in her presentation, the public knows that we have a severe deficit. And
So
I
I do want
don't-
to clarify that, we're not in a deficit. We're not anywhere near a deficit, and that's probably a misleading term to use, because the budget that was presented to you has a bigger carryover budgeted than has ever been before in Summers County. Which I know we're dipping into the carryover, and I understand your concern. It's just, I think the word deficit is a bit misleading.
okay, however we want to word it, we're spending $800,000 more than we're taking in next year. And we have got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I understand.
Please
I-
understand
I share your
that
concern.
basically, well, I'll speak for me. There's kind of like two people sitting here. Kenny, the board member, sucks compared, Kenny, the Summers County resident, don't really like Kenny, the Summers County board member, because he does things that suck. And we just have responsibilities.
I completely understand I'm not disagreeing with you on any of that. For the budget, the other thing I would want to point out is the FY 24 budget only had a 1 million carryover budgeted, and we're ending the year with probably like a 2 million carryover, 2.2. We haven't finished those numbers. So, I mean, the budget is very conservative on those sides, but you can't put that in writing if you don't know that.
But my point is, and we said it a month ago when we approved this budget, that 2 years worth of that were broke.
Yeah.
So we've
No,
got to,
There's gotta be cuts. I 100% do that. So I see that. So I'm
And-
not-
Chad, we go way back. I love you like a brother. But we've had 2 or 3 people in your position in not too distant of past that did the job somehow without people like Susie assisting. And anyway, for what that's worth, apparently it's doable some way somehow.
Any other questions, discussions? Do we have a motion? We'll make a motion. Item dies for lack of a motion. Item 10, new business purchases over 25,000.
We don't have any.
Okay, item B, discussion possible action to put the following policies out for public comment. We have 5-E-4, billing and collection policy, 5-E-6, wellness policy on physical activity and nutrition.
It's just to put them out on
Just
review.
put them out for
I'll-
public
I'll
comment.
make that motion. We put them out for public.
Are there gonna be any changes made to them, or this is just for review?
For review. Part of the thing when I came to this county in 2020, this was no fault of anybody on the board. This is just over the last 40 years, a lot of the policies have never been reviewed. So when you look at some of these policies, they have dates on them that says they haven't been looked at. So part of this is looking at some of these policies that haven't been looked at for quite some time. There might not be many changes or comments, but it's just part of a board is to make sure your policies are up to date and the public has a chance to look at them.
Are these some of the policies that we still have, that we're waiting to receive back from Bowles Rice?
From my understanding, yes, because it's been so many.
Okay, Cause I know,
hate to
I know he
say it like
did give us a
that.
list,
Yeah.
but without it in front of
I
me.
know that VE6 had been put out for review in the past, the wellness policy was.
Mhm.
Okay, so was there a
That's
second?
That's a 3-year review.
Yeah, you got, okay, he answered it, never mind.
Gotcha, thanks.
So there has not been a second
I'll
yet.
second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Farley to put the policies 5-E-4 billing and collection policy, 5-E-6 wellness policy on physical activity and nutrition out for review. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that those policies will be put out for public comment. Item C, discussion or possible action to approve Lilly Therapy Services contract. This is for occupational therapy service for 24-25 school year.
I'll make a motion that we approve that therapy services contract.
Motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Harvey to approve the occupational therapy services contract. Is this the same group we used last year? Same, sir, same,
It is.
okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that the occupational therapy services contract has been approved. D, approve the treasurer to have authority to record and submit any necessary budget items and pay bills for year end.
This is something that we have to do every year.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Harvey, that we approve the treasurer to have authority to record and submit any necessary budget items and pay bills for end of year. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that item D has been approved. Item E, that is discussion of possible action to approve the M3T MOU. That will be on the next agenda item, so we'll
Yeah.
take no action.
We put these MOUs because it's that time of year, but they don't have theirs ready yet, so.
Okay.
Same way with the next one on the next F as well.
Okay, so F, discussion of possible action to approve the HRDF MOU. We'll take no action on that as well. Item G, discussion or possible action to approve the CTR MOU with Concord University.
I don't know if you need us to go over this, but it's basically what we do every year with Concord to try to get educators and recruit them. It's a good program.
Not be confused with where you're at.
This is not, these are actually kids, these are actually young adults.
Teacher on road, CPR.
Traditional setting where they're going to school to be teachers and they just need to get their time in the classroom. When I did it for free. But now they get, well, we're hurting, so it's a nice deal. Plus we get them fresh and we can recruit them possibly to get them to work here in this county.
Make a motion that we approve the MOU with Concord.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the MOU with Concord University. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that the MOU with Concord University has been approved. H, discussion or possible action to approve Country Roads Cooperative Beef Bid. It's with the Mountaineer Steer from Greenbrier County.
What exactly is the deal with this?
Yeah.
Dr. Knott chairs this, and it's a cooperative with the other counties. You see at the top that we work with. And then the state wants us to purchase so much from the state. So we try to patronize locals if we can to help with our food product. And we have a delegate here to correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that pretty much the spirit of the law? Without going down the letter of the law, but that's the spirit of the law.
If you can, when you can, and maybe you can.
Yeah, there you go. Does that answer your question, Mr. Brogan?
Yeah, I move that we approve the Country Roads Cooperative beef bid.
Motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Harvey, that we approve the Mountaineer Steer Cooperative or Country Roads Cooperative beef bid. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that the Country Roads Cooperative beef bid has been approved. Discussion and possible action to approve updates to the Rainelle Medical Center MOU. Here the MOU. And we received in our email, the letter from Ms. Skaggs as well. And you have a copy of that.
Ms. Skaggs, I don't care for everybody to know that you and I spoke. And, maybe you do. I should have asked, I suppose. But as I told you then, I have no problem bringing a medical being under school. But we don't have a place for our nursing class to be. It's not, as of right now, it's not ready. And I guess, Mr. Warble, I need to ask you, is there any way? Well, I know there is a way. As far as the special ed class, if we could just put them a washer dryer combination right beside the sink, then they've got everything they need on their side. And the plumbing is literally on the other side of the wall with the other washer and dryer that Miss Blair has requested. So that would be an awfully easy fix, in my opinion. And then Miss Blair would just need some cabinetry and a sink on her side. And I can't imagine that being an obstacle we can't climb.
Nobody said that was an obstacle.
Well, let's make it happen.
Cabinetry, we can supply our own if you want to utilize what you already have.
Use the cabinetry from,
Utilize what you already have and we'll come in. and-
now, I gotta be careful how we're having this discussion. I'm one.
I'm here to answer any questions you have or navigate through this in
Uh,
any way that we can.
I appreciate you being here, but personally, as I told you before, I have a problem. It's just we have to be prepared
Right.
for our kids.
I feel like I haven't done a good job bringing to the table what we do and how we benefit you. And that's been a little bit of the breakdown of how we're integrated into so many different factors in what we do for the school. And even your previous presentation in Fayette County, we have an agreement with the board, matching dollars and provide a truancy and resource liaison. And so we're connecting piece between the school, communities in school, and going out to the parent, giving them excuses, school-based health consents, behavioral health. Do they need clothes? Are they being bullied in a very soft manner? So we're approachable. So we pick the student up, take them to school, stop and get them a cheeseburger. We have that enough in the budget. So there are so many things that we can do just working together to help your school, to help your students.
So I will say, I'll disagree with you because I think you have done a good job presenting what services you all provide. I think when your staff members have been here also
Yes.
telling us, and I'm like Mr. Brogan, I'll speak for myself. I think that you have done a good job providing those services to our students and staff. And my concern is still the same as it was, and has been all along, is I want to make sure that we have the needed space for our students and staff before we bring you all in. As Mr. Brogan said, I'm not opposed to having you all in the building, but I want to make sure we have our bases covered before we do that.
And that's
So,
completely understandable. You realize that you're a first year for student education and students have to have seen teachers have to have classroom. We're just coming down to the wire where 70 Hamilton, our provider, is out of contract. We have one position in it. So what do? If we hire a provider, if we wait until September and then we hire a provider, it's gonna be spring because providers have to get 120-day notice when they resign somewhere, between 90 and 120 days. And then it takes about 60 days to get it printed with us. So it's a whole long process, but that's why I keep coming to you.
Yeah, I understand.
It's gonna be a process. So if we don't find a solution and pull out the trailers and you lose your provider, it's starting from the beginning, again, trying to get this. You'll get a whole school year of nothing. So
How would that impact the behavioral therapy side?
we haven't figured that piece out yet.
You said we operated for 7 years of that, 5 years prior to the end on site.
We absolutely did. Absolutely did. It's an easier process for our behavioral health therapist to have our center and to have a front desk person that's taking the consent, to have the provider and the behavioral health therapist working together. The therapist standing alone without, front desk and a center to house his consent, to put in the notes, to call the patients in, to get the students over. And Megan can probably speak up here. It takes away from the time of her day where she may be able to maximize her day, 9 patients, and that might cut her down to 5 or 6 because of those.
I was here before the clinic got down here, and I actually had a room in the school, and I didn't have the front office or anything, so I was doing all of that myself. Made it extremely difficult to pull kids and see kids the way that I needed to, because my job it's not just encompassing these kids. A lot of the work that I do, and I don't know that people see this end of it, is I do a lot of work with families. So in between sessions, I'm calling parents and guardians, I'm addressing chronic or critical needs, crisis intervention. I'm back and forth with educators or communities and schools. And so it cuts me payback on how many kids I can see. And given the caseload that I had last year, having a front desk really helped me be able to see kids as often as I needed to and make the calls I needed to families. Or even if I needed to report a situation that was mandated, that the child consent on that they're being abused. Sometimes, when I was in school by myself, it'd be 8 o'clock at night, and I'm on the phone with CPS till 9 o'clock, off the clock, on the phone with CPS, recording, and trying to get things taken care of, doing crisis intervention until 11 o'clock. Which makes for really long hours. It's really difficult. So, part of what we were doing prior to having the clinic there was it was a one-man show, and it was hard.
Doing 2 jobs and
Doing more than 2 jobs.
yeah, having a patient here. So even though we have one center here and we have more therapists, the secretarial support, they still have that. Those consents and those processes come to us. They just don't have us there, the front desk, all students with. So they're still getting that support because we have our center.
If you're coordinating behavioral health needs with your medical needs, I'll give you an example. I have kids from some of the schools who have cutting behaviors. They come in, you can see the cuts on their arms and on their legs. They need to be assessed by a medical professional while I'm calling their families and saying, hey, this is the situation, this is what's going on. They're being assessed right now by our medical professional. I can come to the clinic and give the student. But then we're able to coordinate care. And if we're able to coordinate care, we're able to catch and assess these kids that much faster. And that helps not only as far as their physical and mental health, but that also helps with their attendance. And that helps with building community support and family relations. It pulls everybody in and pulls in all these other contributing factors. We kind of trickle down into what the educators are seeing to do. So it really is building this team and this framework of people. And without having that medical provider and the nurse on staff that's there, it makes it really hard because I'm not qualified to do that. That's outside my scope of practice. Not say something.
So just because the kid, I'm the provider there, I'm Stephanie, the PA, and if the nurse calls me and said a kid is sick, because they go to the nurse first, she does not, they need to come over. Just because they come over doesn't mean that they're getting an excuse to go home. Like, if I don't find anything wrong with them, then they're going back to school. They're not with me. If it's a repetitive, like say that they came in a few times with the same complaints and we're still not finding anything, then I'm like, sometimes it's a pep talk just to get them back to school. Sometimes there is more stuff going on, you know, like what's going on? Is there something else going on at school? Are you being bullied? Are you something on at home? You know, like it's more than just sick. There's something else going on. So I want you all to know that when you do that too, it's not, they're just coming over there getting an excuse and I'm sending them home. Very rarely. Unless they come back, if they have flu or COVID, they're going home, but you know, it's other than, they're going back to school.
We're very, and I repeat this, we're working for great aid, and we have so many different systems here. The medical piece is an important part of it. It identifies, that's what Stephanie's trying to really, just identifies the underlying problems to get them healthy. And when they're mentally healthy and they're physical healthy, they have a cognitive ability. They're not just in that seat, they have the ability to learn. And now you're going to see the scores go up, your graduation. So, school-based health has been tried and true, studied across the nation, and it works. And not only do we want to be here, we really feel like you need us here. The students that we see are probably not going anywhere else. They're not going to see care otherwise. They're not going to receive care.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have been a supporter of Rainelle Medical Center since the start. My big concern from the very beginning about having you in the building is the safety of the children, because people are going to be coming in from the community. You're going to be seeing people with mental health issues, possibly people with addictions and things of this nature. And I'm concerned about the safety of the kids. How would that even be addressed?
So when I was speaking of the original grant, the grant money that we had, this definitely is in my wheelhouse and what I do. I designed the room here and it had a man trap. And so the students and the adults wouldn't even intermingle. And we try to schedule adults, outsiders, before and after school hours. You do have those adults that they're trying to come on their lunch break and get back to work, and we'll see them. So what we would do now is, because we don't have that money and we don't know when we're gonna have that money, if we apply for a capital grant, it takes a while, it's competitive and it's a process. So now we would utilize the space without adults coming in until after hours, because we can't guarantee you that protection while the students are in place. So,
Well, and I would say, we did see community this year out of the clinic. And as behavioral health, I did not schedule community to come in during school hours. So the kids were always off property before any of the community ever set foot into my office to be seen, and I kept it that way. And if there was an adult that needed to be seen during school hours, we did a telehealth, and they knew between 8 and 3, I could not see them. And by 3, the kids are already being dismissed, so most people are sitting in traffic, and they can't even get to see me until about 3:15, 3:30. So that's typically when I would begin seeing adults, is about 3:15, 3:30 of the day. And the kids already left the premises by then.
and even on the property that we're currently at, we had that window designed small, so someone can't just reach in there. Both doors that enter into the back are locked from the outside. We have to open that and let you in. That is for student safety. So if there's a custody issue and a parent that's raged comes in, we have time to call someone before they can get through that door. So if adult walks in the building, they're locked into that reception area now. So we definitely are always thinking of student safety. The students come first.
And we've been very vigilant about calling about custody arrangements. When we get the consents in, that's one of the first things we check. We contact the guardians and say, hey, this is such and such from some Stony Health Center. And then we're just checking in. Are you the parent, legal parent, or guardian? If not, we need to have documentation, and we need to also have a list of who you can and cannot be in contact with your child.
So we're definitely not new to this. We're just new to you. Anytime that you think of questions, we're able to meet with you. I'll email you. I can always provide you answers. But student safety definitely.
Right.
Their health and safety,
I
education, health, safety.
no longer have, I have a nephew there. I no longer have a child there, but these are my kids, basically. So,
Well, and even during the construction that was ongoing throughout the school year, we made it a point to collaborate with Dr. Green and say, hey, how do you want us to get these kids so that they're safe getting from point A to point B out to us? And so any child that we pulled, we would meet that child at the crossfall doors and we would escort that child, me or Stephanie or our receptionist one, and make sure they made it from the crossfall doors out to our office and straight back into the crossfall doors. And for the kids that were in all ed or the ISS room, I would walk them straight to the ISS room, let them in, and watch them enter the building to make sure that they were getting to where they needed to be. So, we've taken all the safety measures and precautions that we could possibly even think about throughout the school year to keep them physically safe in every possible aspect that we could even think about.
thank you.
And refresh my memory. So you did say that there are some schools that there's a few, very few that you're not in the building? Is that,
We have, a school we have one at Greenbrier East on that campus that serves the middle school and the high school, in the back parking lot. So it's not in the school. We serve those schools, and how we, serve those students is by cameras. We watch them, and it's recording cameras.
and what type of facility is that?
It
it's
is a
in?
modular.
Okay.
It's a modular on the school campus.
But it's more of a permanent foundation.
Oh, yeah, it's permanent. At Midland Trail in Fayette County is another location that we built on the facility. We're gonna run into an issue there because seeing elementary school kids, it's just not doable. It's because of the distance walking them. But we do see, it's a very busy site. We see community and school age students, 6 through 12 at school. And we work in the adults around, same thing, doors locked, and track the students in the exam rooms if someone comes into the waiting room. So, we do have the waiting room open where someone can walk in, but we schedule adults around school hours.
And I did work on the adults that I did see during the day were your staff.
That's
Your
typically-
teachers during their planning periods or your bus drivers in between their runs. That's the only adults that I had on the medical side.
And that's another great benefit is we're keeping your teachers in the classrooms and it's hard to get subs and they're not getting their education when their teachers aren't there. So.
Just to help you out, Kenny, you asked a question about room. I emailed you guys about the rooms. We have plenty of room. Before we tried to get the money from the SBA, it was hard to get that money because they said you already have enough room for 6 through 12 in that building. Because with 6 through 12, the occupancy is around 90% When you take the middle school out, it drops it down to 58%. We have plenty of room. That's not an issue. As far as the stuff that you brought up, Charlie comes back. He takes a whole month of July off. I can't do anything until Charlie gets back because I asked Miss Blair to give me a wish list. We are tackling as much as we can, as quickly as we can, but till Charlie comes back, I'm not going to move on anything. And that's just how it is. We're down with Frank and Mick, and we have one person that did the summer. We need 3 to keep up with the properties with maintenance. And, we already know that Talca has John Henry Days. We need that whole area weed eated. I've heard that numerous times every summer, and it's like, it'll get done, but we only have so many people to get the work done. So everything that you brought up, we are tackling it as quickly as we possibly can. But we have plenty of room in that building. That's not an issue.
I wasn't necessarily concerned about the room. It's just that she has her needs met. That's all.
Oh, that won't be an issue. We have plenty of washers
I
and
mean, she
dryers.
needs the cabinetry and, it's pretty imperative she has a sink in the room in a nursing class.
Well, that nursing class was that way when I came here. It was designed that way. There was a classroom and then you go through and that was a lab and it worked for special ed and for that nursing class before I got here. We're just resetting everything back before COVID. Having said that, she has her wish list. I told her we're going to try to make everything possible to get it done as quickly as we can, but Charlie now will be back on Monday and Chad's already got a wish list to put together. We're on it. It just takes time.
So as far as appropriate space, is there a square footage that you're looking at that you need?
Really, we need a minimum of 1,000 square feet to have a fully functional facility. More square footage is nice, but we always make it work in whatever square footage we have. You can see with a bigger school, we need more than 1 floors. and the walls of privacy for care, and then room for behavioral health. And considering that space as well, moving forward, if this is something that you decide upon, when we apply for grant funding for modified space, to modify the space, we would make our design and bring it to you. We wouldn't just go in and make modifications to your school without you looking and making sure that you feel like this is gonna work and this is safe, safety, and it has a man trap and all the things that you're looking for student safety. So we realize that we are a guest in your school.
More questions? We have a motion.
I would make this motion. If you can't tell me at all that you can get those cabinets moved and have her a sink. I mean, that's, and again, we'll probably have to get a washer dryer combination for the special ed so that they're not intermingling.
The washer dryer situation is an issue. If it's about cabinetry and a sink, I just gotta ask Charlie, what do you think the turnaround time is on that? That's all I would be a fool to tell you, yes, it's gonna happen in 30 days. I mean, I would love it to, but you know, stuff comes up and then we gotta go focus on another issue, so. But I'm not gonna make a promise. I'm not gonna say on camera in front of everybody that, yes, it'll happen in 30 days. Would I like it to? Yeah, but I also know we're down manpower right now. and We don't have enough people to keep it going, but Chad and I both agreed that, and Adam, if we have to help out and get it done, we'll do it and we'll make it happen.
Let's say one more thing. If you find yourself in a dilemma now because of our timeline pulling out our trailers.
That's where we're at.
That is definitely where we're at, and we need to pull them out. We have to pull them out prior to winter. We ran into all kinds of complications. They're just not set up for winter. They're not on a permanent foundation. However, that doesn't mean if you're not gonna vote on the MOU, it becomes more problematic. If you decide that you want us here, and you have a space for us to provide behavioral health services, which Dr. Green did, he did. We could continue that, take a pause on medical, sign a contract with Stephanie, pull her into our facility to work until you get the work, everything moved over and let us come in and put our curtains up and make our modifications. So it's doable and it's workable. We just have to have a plan of action to know where we're going.
Yeah, because the other thing is the medical, or the mental health, the Project Aware grant that we received that I worked really hard on. It's 30,000 for each school. And part of that is they provide the tier 3, and that was part of in the grant, someone who was going to provide the tier 3. New school can't provide tier 3, and neither can the regular school system because we don't have the certification to provide the tier 3. They do, so they work with us to say we will be that support. So that's where that's at with the mental awareness and suicide prevention, coping skills, all that stuff that you can think about to make sure people don't harm one another or themselves.
Tier 3 is individual therapy services that she provides. So that is a piece of order for them to get that grant. They need us to provide, which we're already providing. So.
I want to make a motion that we approve the updates to the Sabrina Medical MOU.
I'll second that motion. Have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by myself to approve the update to the Rainelle Medical MOU. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to add that we leave it on the agenda to discuss where we're at on the updates of the class till that's done.
Um, What if we add a new agenda item, just discussing the updates to that rather than leaving the MOU?
I'll just leave it on my superintendent's report. We'll just put it on there, that update on that and levy and whatever else you want to discuss.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by myself to approve the updated Rainell Medical MOU. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-1 vote, the updates to the Rainell Medical MOU have been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve McKinley Architecture. McKinley will oversee the completion of the CTE roof.
We put out in the newspapers, the Charleston and the Beckley paper, that we're looking for a firm to oversee the CTE because the cost of it with SBA projects, we have to put out to get a firm because it's a big task to renovate the roof system, especially the one furthest from us with the gravel on it where the weight room is. That one has a lot of, it's going to have to be almost gutted to make sure it gets cleaned up right because of such a saturation. And Mr. Metter had them do a thermal scan. We want to make sure that that is, it's structurally sound, but you never know when you get in there how much of it is a problem than the rest of the roof system. So you have to hire a firm, because we're using SBA money and it's over that threshold where it gets to be a point where you can't just do it yourself as a school system. Since it's their money, their guidelines, we've met them. We've went through a rubric to hire firms. The only problem is all these firms are so busy with bigger ticket items that they're the only ones that applied and said they would do the work. The other firms, when I've talked to them at the conference, they're just like, we don't. I think 750,000 is a lot of money, but to these firms, they're doing multi-million-dollar projects and they're doing bigger projects. And McKinley already has been working with us. So Heath has been working with us consistently. We do not need a clerk of works. So Heath from McKinley's already here with the other projects, the other two. He can just oversee that and make sure everything works properly. So that's where we're at this point in time. If you guys want us to, we could put it back out there, but then that puts us behind trying to get a roofing project done before snow falls this fall because SBA wants us to get this money spent. I do have here, I asked the SBA to give me a copy what the going rate for any firm. So whether it's McKinley or any firm, they get a fee, a max fee of 10% of the work being done. That's just their guidelines. So that's the SBA form that says that's what they receive on anything with new projects and a renovated project. And then they have a threshold of how much each project is. So if you guys want to look at that, whoever got the job, it's around 10% is what McKinley will get for this out of that $750,000, if it's that much.
So it was put in the paper and they're the only ones.
They're the only ones who said they would do it.
Okay.
It was out there for 2 weeks and, I asked a couple others, why didn't you apply? They just said, we have too much business right now in this state, but they're not interested. So I don't know what to tell you.
And that 10%, does that come out of the SBA money or county funds?
Both. Because we have skin in the game now. Basically, we're paying around 95 to 90.
That's right.
Or they're paying 95 to 97%. So
I forgot we did have some in on
yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to give you an overview of, well, I can't make people apply.
And so when did the ad go out?
You know the date it went out, Chad?
It's in your packet, I emailed to you. That's glad and
thanks
I looked at it when you emailed it, but I can't remember what the date was.
It's actually, I put that on the,
OneDrive.
on the paper so you can see it.
Yeah, we have to keep the stuff from the two paper companies. Kayla keeps that for our records to show that we did our job to put it out for public. Is it not in there?
It's, no,
Is it
but
in
I,
the OneDrive?
it's on the OneDrive. I remember seeing it.
It was in the paper on 6/4 and 6/11.
6/4 and 6/11.
Also goes into our website.
I knew I remembered seeing it. We got the grant. And
Do we have the
I
grant?
said, and we got awarded the grant when?
The SBA funds.
Back this, whenever I told you we got the money's, all we gotta do is start the job now, and then we can start drawing it down. What we have to do as a county, we pay for stuff, and then they reimburse us, like we've been doing on this project down here.
I understand
we
that,
have the
but
money.
I'm just trying to figure out the timeline of being awarded the funds to advertising to then getting the bids in.
The next step would be McKinley.
No, prior to that, I'm just trying to figure out. We found out because we've already picked the company, right?
No,
No.
no companies. What he did was he asked the guy, this guy Christian, he goes out and tries to get, yeah, that's a separate entity. He did it all free because his job is he wants to try to get money. And he'll go out and get these contractors to do the work. The problem when you do it that way is they will get a lot more money because they're connected to these companies and they pick and choose. Where in this case, we have a firm that's going to oversee everything through the SBA because the SBA wants us to have a firm to oversee this. Then what they do is they put it out and they get in these contractors, and then we have a pre-bid meeting and go through that whole process.
Can I simplify that a little bit? So the cost before was just an estimate. That was just a starting place.
Yeah.
So we knew how much to ask for. So the estimate went to the SBA, we got the money. Then it went out for the architect. Once the architect does the design, the construction will actually still be bid. We'll still have to do that again. So this isn't picking the construction company. This is just allowing the architect to start the design.
I apologize, I'm confusing the Hinton area work with this.
Oh.
What I am trying to figure out though is, we knew that we got the money
When I told you that day in a text.
when?
When was that picture I took with the governor? I don't know, sometime, was that in April?
And so it took us
April.
3 or 4 months to post an ad.
What do you mean took 3 or 4 months?
Well, sorry, to post an ad for the architectural firm.
Well, what we have to do is wait for SBA to give us the contract to say, we're officially awarding the money. We sign off on it, then we start putting together this RFP, a request, well, not request for a proposal, request for a firm, and then it comes back to us. But you do realize we're working on 2 other building projects right now, and all these wants that everybody would like us to do with the least amount of people trying to keep up with everything. So this is a good headache to have, but we're trying to get it done as quickly as we possibly can.
So we have the item J, possible action to approve McKinley Architecture. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve in the architecture.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve McKinley Architecture. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that McKinley Architecture has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve WVU DOVF MOU.
That was a mouthful.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I wasn't going to read it out.
Make a motion to approve the OVS MOU and ABCDEF.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the WVU DOVS MOU. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote that the WVU DOVS MOU has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve A through Z speech therapy.
Make a motion that we approve the A to Z speech therapy MOU.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mrs. Farley, that we approve the A through Z speech therapy MOU. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote, A to Z speech therapy MOU has been approved. Discussion or possible action to approve Carolyn Stevens MOU.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Harvey, seconded by Mrs. Farley to approve Carolyn Stevens MOU. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote, Carolyn Stevens MOU has been approved. We now have before us personnel, resignation and retirements, employment professional, employment service, employment substitute teachers, employment homebound teachers, employment summer service, employment summer substitute teachers, and employment summer substitute service.
I make a motion that we approve, the superintendent's recommendations in regard to the aforementioned personnel.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Farley, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the superintendent's recommendations regarding personnel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 5-0 vote, the superintendent's recommendation on personnel has been approved. Item 12, superintendent report.
Hinton area construction is on track and going really well. The biggest issue right now is just getting material in a timely fashion. That's the biggest hangup for, construction. Lead time on items are not coming in as quickly as like, but Dan Hill construction would be done right now if they didn't have to wait on a couple items that they're waiting on. So, we did meet with them today. We meet with them every other week. We also met at Summers County Comprehensive High School. I didn't like the way the meeting was going. Sandra and Chad were there, and I just made a comment when it came to the owner's report. I'm not happy with Radford, and therefore I'm requesting to meet with Kevin on Friday morning at his office at 8 o'clock. And we need to have a serious conversation that if they keep up what they're doing with not moving as quickly as they said they would, then we might have to do some things that they're not gonna like when it comes to payments. They are not doing a good job of owning up to some things that they want to pass off on to McKinley. And McKinley and the firm is saying, we've answered everything. You guys, as a general contractor, should be able to get some things done. We've also had some of their subcontractors let us know that they weren't making payment. So we had that issue again. This is about the 6th time now that 2 from one company, 5 from, wait, I said 6, so it's 2 from one, 4 from these others, where it's getting to the point where if they're not paying their people and people don't show up, work doesn't get done. And today, when they requested more days to get work done, I made a comment that we gave you that allowance with construction on the steel because steel had to be changed a little bit because of the twisting of the gym. We worked with them on that, but now they're asking for another 14 days. And when you ask for 2 more weeks, you know what that does to the end of this. And I told them school starts on the 19th for our staff and the 26th for students. There's no option other than get it done by August 2nd, like I told them. So Kevin and I are going to have a conversation on Friday, and I will update you on that later because it's getting a little chippy. And as the owner, and I represent you in this community, there's an expectation, and we want that building done, and it needs to be completed on time. The good news is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but a lot of that work will get done quickly because we're there. We're almost there. We just need to finish strong. And there's been some issues with some workers. Either don't show up to work because they're having the same problem we are with worker shortage. You get people that show up and then they find out it's hard work. Construction, I'm sorry, but it's hard work. The masons will get the split face done this week, so the outside will be finished. The gym roof will get finished next week when they can get the steel across the back side of that, or the front side of that wall, so they can attach it to the side. And then the ductwork will continue in that gym, and then they'll turn on the HVAC and get the air going so they can put down the flooring. The gym flooring has to have the humidity level come down to closer to 70%. Right now, you can guess it's anywhere from 80 to 95%. The flooring for the classrooms, they can work on that one. That's not as big of a deal because it's more malleable. But when you talk about wood flooring, you have to have it just right. And I do not want to deal with that gym a year out. We hurried up and screwed up things. So long story short, according to Mr. Radford, we'll be able to have kids in the school. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like what you said earlier, Mr. Brogan. I understand the gym situation. I'm not in a hurry to make a mistake there. But as far as getting kids into school and having a nice classroom and everything ready to go, that's the goal right now. And he understands that. But he's been there this week as a not only the owner, but now he's supervising. And it's so much different to see the owner there and how the guys work versus their current supervisor who's in his mid-20s. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't have the clout and respectability like the owner does. And so when Kevin came last Thursday and Friday, I said, I appreciate that. We need to keep that up. But he was only here half a day yesterday and half a day again today. And I need him to be on site because it's imperative. It's got to get done. So I'm just giving you what's been going on here lately. That's a little frustrating with construction, but we knew we'd have some hangups, but this is where we're at this point in time.
You might remind him that our original date was in March, so.
Did we not say that today? And what we can do is we can start looking at a change order where he starts owing us money. So I'll give you a good example. Since the date was supposed to be that date, and we did give him some days to make up because the steel allowance was a little different because of twisting of the gym. We understand that. We want to make sure it's safe. But we can take a date from where it keeps going over, where like our clerk of works, whatever we're paying our clerk of works and whatever we're paying, we can deduct that to say, you're costing us money now. So that has been said. I also told him today that I might have to contact our attorney at Bowles Rice if we don't move in a better fashion. I think that got their attention a little bit. I don't want to go to the attorneys because we're all going to lose. But at the same time, Radford has had a bad name with other entities right now. And I don't want to speak ill will of them, even though it appears I am right now. But when you have people not getting paid, and we've been paying them, and now I'm hearing that, I'm not going to put in front of you guys to approve payment right now until I know everybody else is getting their lion's share, because that's the right thing to do. And it's quite frustrating when we're almost there is what I'm getting at. So we'll see what we can do to make that happen. But other than that, this summer is going as quickly as it possibly can. We will give you guys some embargo data once we know more about it, but our language arts scores are about as reflective as our math scores. Met with our directors on Monday. We have a game plan to bring our principals in with our specialists and our team leaders who teach math and language arts to let everybody understand we got to put academics at the top, and it's a non-negotiable. All students can learn. That's it. I'm tired of excuses. I don't want to hear about attendance. I don't want to hear about broken homes. What can we control while the kids come here? And academics have got to be the forefront. No more construction, no more COVID, no more levy. I got to focus on student achievement. And not only student achievement, but we got to focus on growth. Because some kids will achieve all day long and meet the scores, but are they actually doing this and growing? And I think that's a disconnect, and I can take ownership of that and say that's my fault, and we got to do a better job. So just want to let you know we are moving forward with that one. And then Jesse, with the book that she wrote about the phone and the policies that are going on at the state level, and one we're looking at about really putting teeth to not having cell phones in the school. We might not see the counselors as much because anxiety goes up. You got depression and kids worrying about fear of missing out. And so we need to put some teeth to that and make sure the community understands we love your children, and we'd love it even more if they pay attention and they're engaged in the classroom. And we need to put the cell phones away. And there's enough research now that says it's not good, and it's not a big deal if they don't have their phone with them. It's okay. And we do have safety going on with the school system. Tomorrow, we're meeting with Commissioner Saunders and also Sheriff Ferris. Again, if one or two board members want to be there tomorrow at 9 o'clock here, we're going to talk about the school resource officer. Since the levy did not pass, we can only afford, well, I should say we can barely afford one school resource officer with our title money. We need to talk to them about that as we move forward. And if we are going to look at running a levy, I've already talked to Roger Hunter from Bold Rice. He said, I think I forwarded you guys a text on August, a deadline. We have to have it because there's a timeline. So if we're going to look at all that, then we probably should get that on the agenda to discuss with possible action to do a levy like we did last time. One thing I would suggest is we don't change anything except for instead of 5 years, maybe we'll look at just going 2 years, because that would be on an election cycle. Maybe people feel better. Let's try 2 years versus 5. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying there's options, guys. We got to figure out a way to get people to understand we need this money to help support our kids. It's not a want, it's a need. So that's some things to talk about as we move forward. When we look at a work session, good think of it. So that's all I have, guys.
Thank you. All right, next point of privilege, Ms. Harvey.
Ms. Gang, I echo what Mr. Rubin and Mr. Angel both said about, it is not about not having Reno Medical Center there to provide services to the staff and students. And it's an absolute need. For me, and you mentioned it in your letter, that there was a verbal agreement that you all would come into the building, and that was not made aware, as far as I know, to this group. And to lose 2 nursing classes, and now possibility of losing our electrical program. If in the future we are able to bring those CTE classes back, which I think one person, that would be a goal or a dream for me and for our students because of what that does to our community. I would like to make sure that we have the space available, classroom space for those programs and or any other that would benefit our students in our community. So just please understand that. And then aside from that, we've had several bus drivers that have had a really rough summer, and just keeping those in our thoughts and prayers that they can start to have a better summer.
Thank you. Mrs. Farley?
Megan gave me an introduction for my point of privilege was the bus drivers. They really have had a rough summer, and we're in a really close-knit community, and within that community we have a village. Our Summers County school system is a village in itself, and I cannot tell you how many people reached out to Joey and to me when Joey's brother had open heart surgery last week. It was just astounding. It was unbelievable to me. Reached out with prayers and can we drop something off? What can we do for you? How is your brother? It was an overwhelming outpouring of love and prayers. And we've stayed in touch with Roger Bennett and his wife, and he was diagnosed with cancer recently. She said he's following up tomorrow with the CT scan that he had last Friday to see about the size of his tumor. He goes for his third round of chemo. She said he was having to be on oxygen daily, but now they've been able to cut that down some. Roy Graham, another bus driver, had a heart cath today at St. Thomas. The heart cath went well. There were no blockages. So praise the Lord for that. He's doing well. And then, of course, like I mentioned, Joey's brother had open heart surgery, which was completely unexpected. But I'm just very thankful for this village that we have in our community because it's amazing.
Thank you. Mr. Brogan?
Well, a couple things that I want to say seem irrelevant. It's been so long since they happened, but we do this once a month. But anyway, I'd like to congratulate all the staff for completing another year, surviving. I want to get into professional service and all that kind of thing, just as a whole. Very appreciative to everybody working together and making it happen for one more year. Just want to give a shout out to our baseball team. They were only one game away from going to the state tournament, and so they had a very successful year. So shout out to them. And my last item, I just want to check with, and it's been a while. Cassandra, do we have an update on using credit cards?
Yeah, we're going to go back to that sometime this summer.
Sometime this summer.
It will be in the next, probably month or so. We're in the final stages for that.
All right, good deal. Thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Brogan. Mr. McBride?
Well, I'd just like to say continue prayers to Jimmy Farley and all his family and Roger Bennett. He really needs prayers. And Roy Graham, I'm glad his test turned out well. Continue prayers there. And I'd also like to thank all of our staff for completing the year and have been a safe year.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. So I'll just end with, adding on to what Ms. Farley said. We do come from a nice, small, tight-knit community, and there's an outpouring of support in this community. And I don't know people who live in larger communities, how they get through some of the trials that we've had to go through without that community support. That being said, I'm going to back up to the last meeting when we had a couple of our archers come in and talk about their experience. I really appreciate the support from the community for that. Those two guys, and you all know, one of them's my son, and he's done well in spite of me. He's a good kid in spite of me. But those two boys, they went down there and they represented us well. Easton had a good day. Nathan, he either has a good day or a bad day, and I think that's what Marty said. But he always takes it in stride, and it's been a pleasure watching all my kids shoot. As Mr. Metter was able to watch his daughters play basketball, and it's fun to watch your own kids participate in these. My first son, he was there for a good time, not for a long time. As long as he was having fun with his friends, he enjoyed archery. Nathan is competitive, but Nathan shoots very fast. He'll shoot 5 arrows in the time most kids shoot 2. And so it was a lot of fun watching him. My daughter's a left-handed shooter. I enjoy watching her, and my Noah, he's a lot like Greg. As long as he's having fun, that's what it's about. But people came up to us after the shoot, and they commented on our boys. You know, there were people from other schools who came up and it makes you feel good as a coach and as a parent when people recognize that. And I try to do the same when I see, you know, someone on another team helping out an archer or you know, I try to compliment them because it is nice to have that support when you're in a large competition with 15,000 other archers. Again, I appreciate the community support and I appreciate each one of these board members. I've kind of, for the past month, I've had to do some travel for work. I've had to do travel for the archery tournament, and then I took a week to get away from those cell phones. We were at Watoga where we could unplug for everything. And, you know, I think if the kids were to have a cell phone ban, the freedom you get from not being attached to that device is priceless. And I always dread leaving Watoga as you come back into Greenbrier County and your phone starts dinging and all the notifications come off. I'm like, oh. So I just want to thank you all for continuing, keeping up with things and catching me up on what was going on when I got back. So very much appreciate all of you all. With that being said, discussion of next agenda, we have a statutory meeting, July 1st, 5 p.m.
If that 5 doesn't work, I think what we did was you just put it there because
Yeah.
we knew we had to have it. But, you can put it any time because basically we have the agenda ready. It's just for you guys to say who's president, who's
Mhm.
vice president, who's gonna be on what committee. There's really no big work being done other than officers.
Yeah. That being said, if anyone would like to have a different time, let me know what works. Um, go with 5, or we can do it early in the morning, whatever works best for you all. Should be a relatively short meeting.
I would say anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, depends on what Jay says.
Yeah.
He doesn't
So-
say much.
You need to be early.
I'll keep it short.
You'll keep it short.
So, okay.
If we could, first thing in the morning, if
It
we could
doesn't
avoid,
have to be, I could, but,
if we could avoid them having to come back since they leave at 2, that might be
Well,
helpful too.
well, do
it
we,
doesn't
let's,
matter with me,
do
whatever you
you,
want.
could you all do early in the morning?
It's just gonna be me with you guys.
Oh, okay.
Because
I can do 8 or 9.
8 it is.
8 o'clock.
I was gonna say, the
That too
earlier
early?
better if I'm
Okay.
Mr. Rogan. I mean,
So we'll change that to 8 a.m.
is that right?
Yes, it is.
8 o'clock, okay.
And actually, you know, I mentioned to you the rotation schedule. We can handle that on the first meeting in July.
Yeah.
That's not this
Yeah.
meeting.
In the July ones, after this one, we'll start at 6 o'clock, because that's what you all want to do.
Yeah.
So just want to let you know that
Yeah.
does change to 6.
Thank you.
Yep.
So speaking of next agenda, do we want to set a date for our work session? I would like to try to get that work session as soon as possible.
Me too.
And I know you've got vacations taking place
A
here.
lot of different ones, yeah.
Um,
I guess if you don't have to necessarily have a time today, but if you want to throw out some dates.
Short of Monday of next week, I'm available next week. Of course, Thursday's a holiday,
Yeah, Thursday, Friday will be holidays.
so we have Tuesday or Wednesday
Tuesday
if
or
anybody's
Wednesday.
available.
I think I'm good on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Yeah, I'll be
Okay,
here.
yeah, so ideally, if we could do the statutory meeting and follow it with our work session, but I'm not available to do that on Monday, so I apologize to you all.
Tuesday or
Everybody's
Wednesday.
gonna be doing the same thing, Mr. Angel, on Monday, all 55 counties.
Yeah,
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday, either one.
okay.
Works for me.
Me also.
Tuesday's better. for me.
Right.
If we do Tuesday, can we start early? I have to leave.
We can, and so, I'm gonna send you some items.
Okay.
And one of those, a lot of those we've talked about today.
Yeah,
You know,
I
different, the
figured.
levy, different things like that. And I would kind of like to streamline it and try to focus on those items that we need to figure out a path going forward. So let me send those to you.
Self-appraisals due July 15th, by
Right,
the way.
yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you, but
no.
that made me think of that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Self-appraisal, July 15th.
Yep.
For you all.
So, and that's something we can talk about because I've got to build those forms for you guys to do, and I'll try to get that done before our work session. So
July
Tuesday,
July 2nd, at what time?
how early can we start?
What time you want to start? 7?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I don't,
No, I mean, I would just start at 8 like normal.
8's fine.
8, does that work for you?
Like
all?
normal people.
Okay. Does that work, Megan?
Yeah.
Okay. So July 2nd,
Miss Harvey, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you think we could get a Magnolia room and do it there? That's kind of nice. Or,
Again, you'd have to reach out to the guest house
okay, is
I'd-
that step?
facilities,
Uh,
reservations at guesthouse.com.
okay.
I'd rather do a free place, whether it be the high school or
or
here.
here.
Well, if you did it at the high school, we could take time to go check out construction. If you want to do it that way. You just want
Let's
to do it
do
at the high
that.
school?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll find a room to go into. It's not noisy.
Okay.
8 a.m. at the
8 a.m.
Summers County Comprehensive High School. Okay.
Mhm. All right. Any items for that work session? If you all have anything you want to talk about, send those to Mr. Warble, and I'll send you an email,
Okay.
either this evening or in the morning with the items I've written down.
And then we'll get an agenda put together for you
Yeah.
to look over before we put it out. Cause
Yep.
we'll get the other one put out
Uh-huh.
tomorrow for Monday.
Yeah. Yep. That's on my list.
Before we move on to item 15.
Sure.
I don't know if I need to make a motion or how I handle this, but in the notes, it was supposed to be amended for Roby position from assistant middle school cheer coach to head middle school cheer coach. And that didn't make it to the notes.
Oh.
On the minutes,
So instead of assistant, it should say head middle school.
Right.
Nice catch, Megan.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't catch a couple.
So,
We'll just put that back.
Last week's minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. McBride, I think it's your turn.
I make a motion, we adjourn. The time is 7:35.
Thank you.
that in my